Now, we go to our slide. And we begin. Okay. Importance of gut health. Kingdom Lifestyle Modification Challenge 2.24. Our, okay, am I stuck? Okay, looks like I have to barcode again. Okay. Okay, there we go. Importance of gut health. Introduction. What is the gut? We'll give a definition of the gut. And it's not going to be like a biology class. And I'm going to make sure that it's as simple as possible. And I want you at any time during the slide presentation, if I say something that that you might not understand, just please ask. But I will make things as simple as I can. And things that we do not need to go deep into, we will not. Because what I want you to do is to understand the importance of the gut. The gut is something that is taken for granted, but in taking it for granted, we do harm to ourselves. We're going to talk about the digestive system, that which is called the gastrointestinal tract, the GI tract. Then the healthy gut and the unhealthy gut. And then also balancing the gut flora. The flora is the bacteria, the virus, the fungi that are beneficial for us, that is in us, and a balance has to be struck within our gut, and we're going to talk about that. Then we'll have a summary and questions and answers. Now, as we begin, as a holistic natural health consultant and therapist, I am not a medical doctor. As such, I do not diagnose conditions, nor prescribe pharmaceuticals, or perform surgical procedures. The information provided are to naturally enhance one's way of life, if one is diligent in following the recommendations. Introduction. Now, there is so much information released and still to be released explaining the importance of gut health. It is impossible to give all the information tonight because information is coming out as we speak. Scientists are just now realizing, well, for the past couple of years and even now, how important gut health is for overall good health. So as information is shared concerning gut health, we will take a look at the definition of the gut as medically defined, the digestive system, GI tract as its function, what is gut health and why it's so important, diseases resulting from an unhealthy gut, and finally, how to build healthy gut flora. And you saw that in the contents in the last page. What is the gut? Now, that's a gut, right? Okay, everybody can open up and give a good laugh. That's a gut. That's a real gut. Okay? Yeah. Only thing, we're looking for the healthy gut. Okay, now the gut. According to International Foundation for Gastrointestinal Disorders, the gut is defined as the esophagus, stomach, and intestines. The esophagus, the stomach, and the intestines, and we're going to see them later on. And I know that most of you are very familiar with it. We just can see again because a lot of it is revision. Now, however, because all of these are connected to a canal or a tract, in other words, each one of these are connected to each other by tubing, a canal or tract. Other organs such as the mouth, the duodenum, and the anus are sometimes also, are referred to as part of the GI tract. the digestive tract, or the alimentary canal. Any one of those words are used interchangeably for the same thing. Connections begin at the mouth, where ingestion occurs, where we take in our food, and extends to the anus, the end of the process, where solid waste is excreted. The gut specific, and the gut specific, by gut specific, I mean the organs that hold the most importance or the largest part of what we're going to deal with this evening lies in the small and large intestines, even though the process begins even from the mouth. That's the process of digestion, which also have some of what we call the good microbiota. Now, the ecosystem or the environment, the neighborhood of the gut, the environment, is host to billions of microorganisms, such as bacteria, virus, and fungi. The vast majority are what has been identified as friendly, with a small percentage that are aggressive yet needed within the environment to create a balance. So even though we have good bacteria and we have bad bacteria, the bad must be kept in a very small percentage to create the balance needed for what is called homeostasis or balance. It's needed so that that we can get the most beneficial effect from their presence in us. Now, the relationship is symbiotic. That is, both the host, which is us, and the microorganisms, bacteria, virus, and fungi, we benefit from each other. They give us something, we give them something. So we need each other to coexist. And you'll see how. The gut is extremely important to establishing and maintaining good overall health, as pertaining to cognitive functions, that is good brain health, cardiovascular, heart health, and the vast majority of immune functions. Here we have pictures of the brain and the large intestine, and we're showing it within the view of microscope, the bacteria, fungus, and viruses that are connected and help with both. Now, let's look at the GI tract. We talked about the parts of the gastrointestinal tract and the tubing that connects them, the tubing that connects everything from mouth to anus. Here we have the mouth. The mouth has salivary glands. Then we have the esophagus. So into the mouth, into the esophagus, and we continue. We see that this is good. This is ingestion. Everything that we eat, everything we're eating goes into the mouth. The mouth is the organ responsible for receiving or ingesting food. In the mouth, the food is thoroughly chewed or should be thoroughly chewed after entering. Some say 32 chews to make sure that the food is completely crushed up. Now, the whole process of chewing is to grind the food and crush the food and to mix it with the saliva. The saliva contains what is called digestive enzymes. Here, the food break down and the breakdown begins with a digestive enzyme called amylase that is actually in the mouth. And so you see digestion begins in the mouth. The food breakdown begins in the mouth. The amylase breaks down any carbohydrates. It acts on carbohydrates specifically in the food that you take in. So when you eat carbohydrates, the digestion begins right in the mouth. And the enzymes, like the amylase that is found in the mouth, plays an extremely important role in digestion. And we should be mindful of the nutritional benefits derived from eating raw fruits and vegetables. Because raw foods, like fresh fruits, unprocessed, fresh vegetables, unprocessed, these have what is called food enzymes in it. And these food enzymes help to break down the food along with our body's digestive enzymes. And when the food has enzymes, we do not have to use as much digestive enzymes to break down the food. And the importance of enzymes is this: the more enzymes we retain, the more energy and health we retain. So we want to keep our enzymes. So the more raw foods that we eat, the more enzymes we get to keep. The younger, the more energetic we are. Now, the enzymes contribute and assist with the breakdown of foods. Also, in the mouth, because the mouth has its own microbiota, it has its own good bacteria, good microbes in it that act on the food also to help to break it down. We can only take from the food the nutrients after the food is broken down. So proper digestion should take place. These are the good bacteria that are found in the mouth. So not all bacteria that is in the mouth is bad. There are some that causes bad breath and others, but there are also some that are there for the benefit, for our benefit. So let's keep that in mind, that we do definitely want to kill the bad breath, but also maintain those good microbes that help to break down our food. The food moves from the mouth to the esophagus. The esophagus is connected to the mouth by the throat and receives the food ball called bolus. It moves slowly down the mouth, down the throat, into the tubing, and smooth down the esophagus tube before it reaches the stomach. The bolus moving in the esophagus continue to be acted on by digestive enzymes. So the digestive process, even while you're swallowing, the food is still in the process of digesting, and it takes time for food to break down. And the digestive enzymes, the food enzymes, and the microbes present help to break down the food as it slowly moves toward the stomach. This is why it is recommended not to drink while eating, because if you drink while eating, you interrupt the digestion, the breakdown of the food before it gets to the next place to further break it down. The liquid that you drink while you're eating pushes it down, so it moves straight from the mouth straight to the esophagus without that digestive period that is in between. So you should either drink prior to eating or drink about half hour after eating. Always remember that. We are accustomed to sometimes having a cup on one side of our plate, eating and drinking at the same time. That's not good. It stops and inhibits the proper digestion. All of this we want to be mindful of. Now, I know that some habits are hard to break, but knowing what is the right way is the beginning of doing the right thing. So we want to know the right way so that we can do the right thing. Try and keep your drinks away from your food for as long as possible before drinking, or drink before you eat. That way, it will not interfere with pushing the food down your esophagus straight into your stomach before it's properly digested. Once the food is in the stomach, the food ball called the bolus enters the stomach. Protein is acted on by the digestive enzyme protease, and fats by the digestive enzymes lipase. Notice, in the stomach, the carbohydrates is not acted on per se. If there is no protein in the food that comes down into the stomach, then the digestion of carbohydrates continue, but the digestive enzymes for proteins and fats are not needed. So it gives complete attention to the breakdown of the carbohydrates. Now, when you eat protein, there won't be much digestion going on in the mouth, except for whatever live food enzyme that comes in with the protein. But once it gets down into the stomach, that's when the proteins are acted on. They're acted on by the protease, and fats by lipase, and also gastric juices and hydrochloric acid act on the protein to break it down. These are acidic. And remember, last week we talked about acid and alkaline. The carbohydrates would need an alkaline enzyme to act on it, while the protein needs an acidic environment to help with its breakdown. And that's why we don't combine the two. Because if we have proteins digesting, eat proteins and carbohydrates together, then the stomach becomes a bit confused in whether it puts out the amount of acid type substance to break down the proteins or more alkaline substance to break down the carbohydrates. Now, as mentioned, other chemicals released by the liver, the gallbladder, and pancreas. These are the gastric juices. These assist in the stomach to further break down the foods. And I'm going through the process of digestion to get to the area of the gut because the food has to be digested so that it can then be utilized and further absorbed once it gets to the small intestine and then the large intestine. And the next stop from the stomach is the ileum, better known as the small intestine. Now, the small intestine receives from the stomach the partially digested material and proceeds with final digestion and absorption of nutrients. The last work of digestion that the small intestine have to do, the greater the opportunity for the absorption of nutrients if there are nutrients present. But if we are eating raw foods, then definitely there are nutrients present and they will be absorbed into the bloodstream once it hits the small intestine. The digestion is aided by the activities of microorganisms known as the microbiota. The microbiota is the name given to those bacteria, fungus, and viruses that we spoke of earlier. These help further digest while producing, and listen to this, while producing essential vitamins and what is called SCFAs, short-chain fatty acids, which are extremely beneficial to the entire body. These are being made by microbiota, by gut bacteria. And these short-chain fatty acids, the most important short-chain fatty acid is the omega-3. So we are having our bodies, because of what we have living in our gut, we're having it produce an amount of omega-3. So know and understand that our bodies, because of our gut, can produce omega-3. And because it might not be sufficient for the body's needs, additional omega-3 coming in through the foods that we eat or supplementation helps to make up the balance. And also the microbiota gives us some essential vitamins also. Now, when we come to the large intestine called the colon is the last of the larger organs. It moves from the small intestine to the large intestine. And this is the larger organ in the digestive system, and it functions for final absorption. This is the last place absorption takes place. And after the final absorption, it leads to waste and elimination. It has the colon has the largest population and diversity of the gut's microbiota. Anytime we say microbiota, remember we're talking about the inhabitants of our gut, the good bacteria, virus, and fungus that helps us. Now, this waste that is eliminated through the large intestine contains toxins, pathogens, and other harmful substances that would be reabsorbed into the bloodstream and cause disease. That's if it's not eliminated. And that process is called auto-intoxication. The waste moves through the large intestine by a natural wave-like movement called peristalsis. That is when you feel like you get that natural call, nature call, and you feel your stomach making that move. And it's still within your parameter of control, but it's the feeling that you get when you want to go. That means that there's peristalsis. And also the peristalsis helps you to eliminate without straining. That wave-like movements help you to push out waste out of the rectum for elimination. Any delay in elimination is constipation. That's right. For every meal that you should have a pass. If you have 3 meals a day, you should have 3 passes the next day in that order. Or 1 or 2 passes a day is normal. If not, then know that constipation to some degree has already begun to sit in. All waste is passed out, well, all solid waste pass out through the anus. And that covers the digestive process. Let's look a bit closer at these bacteria, fungus, and viruses. Again, we have on the left side of the screen the mouth, the esophagus, the stomach, and added now the liver, pancreas, gallbladder, the small intestine, the large intestines, and the rectum. You see that there are trillions of microorganisms living inside of us. The gut microbiota includes the bacteria, virus, and non-pathogenic. That means that the pathogens, the bad bacteria, viruses, and fungus, these are called pathogens because they work against us. These are not included in the microbiota. Now, on our right side, we have examples of these. We have examples of the good microbiota that we want in the gut. And those of you who have your digestive enzymes and pre and probiotics, your probiotics are actually the good bacteria that the gut needs to help to create the balance. It not only helps to break down the food, but it creates the balance that your gut needs for a healthy gut. And the gut is extremely important, as I said. I don't want to jump the gun to show you how important the gut is, but we're going to get to that. Now, the small and the large intestines are the residence of the vast majority of microorganisms. Again, called the intestinal flora or the gut microbiome. Microbiota, we're talking about the same thing. Now, the microbiome or the gut flora is the internal ecosystem. It's the environment. It's the habitat of the small and large intestine, and it contains trillions of bacteria, as was said, fungi, virus, and other microorganisms called microbiota. This ecosystem is unique to every individual, and the microbiota exists in balance with each other, which is extremely important. Each person, my microbiota will be different from, say, Miss Carey's gut microbiota. However, there is a balance that both of us would need in our gut for a healthy gut. Disruption in the balance, disruption in the microbiome is called dysbiosis. That's the unbalance. And that dysbiosis or the imbalance is associated with many diseases. That's the importance. Without the correct balance, we fall into a disease state. In the gut, even though we have trillions, there are over 10,000 different strains of inhabitants. In other words, there are different ethnicities living in our gut. Okay, we might have some bacteria, but they're not just generally one bacteria. You have about 1,000 different types of bacteria living in the gut, all doing a different function to help us create that balance that is needed for good gut health. In a healthy gut, at least 99% of the microbiota are good, or the inhabitants are good and beneficial. And as we said earlier, has a symbiotic relationship with our bodies. We allow them to live in us while they provide assistance in completing digestion, consuming toxic waste, and also producing beneficial nutrients like vitamin B1, vitamin B12, vitamin K, and as we said, the short chain fatty acids. That's a must for a healthy brain and a healthy heart. Now, everybody talks about vitamin B12 supplementation, but do you know that eating properly, the microbiota produces B12 in our gut? And this is one of the things that we want to do. We want to be able, if B12 can be produced in the gut, if omega-3 can be produced in the gut, we want to encourage that as much as possible. Where it is lacking, then we have to bring that from the outside through supplementation. All of this depends on how we are eating and how we are feeding the gut. Now, this is what a healthy gut does for us, for each one of us. The gut microorganisms or microbiota are also responsible for 70% of the body's immune system. You get that? 70% of your body's immune system and my body's immune system is in the gut. A balanced gut microbiome, it gives health and regeneration to brain cells. Research in microbiota gut-brain axis is a two-way communication between the intestine and the brain that affects human health, your mood, and your behavior. There are many persons who are suffering from the group of diseases they call dementia diseases, okay, where the cognitive function has been slowed or impaired. Research has shown that dementia, Alzheimer, and those group of dementia diseases are not a result of aging of the brain or a brain malfunction, but it is actually the result of the imbalance of the gut's microbiome. So instead of taking pharmaceutical to correct the dementia situation, it is the gut that needs to be addressed. In addition to that, and this is all research that has surfaced. Dementia is now called type 3 diabetes because it is not a disease of the brain, but rather the gut. Heal the gut, the brain regenerates. Nutrition is the greatest influence on establishing and maintaining microbiome balance. And that's why the diet that we've been giving, and I don't want to call it diet, but the nutritional schedule that we've been given on this challenge is exactly what is needed to influence and establish while maintaining the good microbiome balance. And while that is being established, the supplements that you have, the multivitamin, the digestive enzyme with pre and probiotics, and the vitamin B complex, not just vitamin B12, but all of the vitamin Bs within that complex. All of this aids us in actually restoring good health, restoring the balance where it needs to be restored in the gut. And I'm sharing this with you because this is the process that we're on. This is the process that we have engaged in. So know that when I tell you that I do believe because of you and because of our diligence, restoration will take place. And I want you to believe that also. You are being restored physically and spiritually. Engaging in what has been presented to you in this challenge brings the restoration, both in body and in spirit. Now, when we have the microbiota balance, the gut balance, our hormones a balance, yes. And we know about the need for good hormone balance, especially, well, you can't say especially because from what I am beginning to understand, and will definitely be helping out as much of my brothers as I possibly can. Um, Not only do women go through hormonal imbalances at certain time and age, but apparently men do also. And I want to say thank you, Apostle, for sending me those 3 videos because we will be working on that for the benefit of the men. But yeah, one of the ways that we get help even with the imbalances is by having a balanced gut. Mental health, of course, we just spoke about that. Good gut biota makes you very sharp. It causes those brain synapses to fire correctly. And it builds your immune system. Can you imagine? It's not popping vitamin C that helps you to overcome a cold or a flu or something coming in, but rather a healthy gut. Because 70% of your immune system is located in your gut. That's why when a person have gut issues, the rest of the body normally falls apart. Now, here's the result of imbalance or an unhealthy gut. The gut is considered unhealthy when the microbiome is imbalanced. In other words, there are greater populations of pathogenic microbiota or bad or unfriendly microorganisms than friendly. When there are more unfriendly microorganisms, then our body is in disarray. This increase of unfriendly microorganisms lead to an aggressive invasion to the lining of the intestinal walls, which allows toxins and waste to enter the bloodstream and destroy healthy cells. This leads to a low short-chain fatty acid or omega-3, which is needed for the brain health. And you can see why the brain is connected to the gut. The gut has its ability to produce omega-3. Omega-3 is needed for proper brain function. So any dysfunction in that area will actually affect the brain. And this is a high TMO, and we don't have to get into this, trimethylamine and oxide. This is, in particular, lectin and choline. These are enzymes or chemicals that should not have high levels in our bodies, but when our gut is out of balance and they increase, then we create problems. And these come about through the ingestion of a lot of animal products. Research has shown also that it's linked to kidney impairment. Yes. So the simple thing to know is that when we consume a lot of animal products, that we will raise our TMAO, and that itself will affect our kidney. Okay. And then there's the high LPS, lipopolysaccharides. These are called endotoxins, LPS. And again, this, like the TMAO and the short chain fatty acids, are all affected. Their levels are affected when the gut microbiome is out of balance. You've heard about diseases like leaky gut or irritable bowel syndrome. These comes from eating too many fatty foods, not just fatty foods, but fatty foods from animals, okay? Clinical research indicates that these three that was just mentioned, the low SCFA, that is the low omega-3, along with the high TMAO and LPS, causes conditions such as inflammation and increased cardiovascular or heart disease risk. So we see how also the balance of the gut microbiome affects not only the brain, but also the heart. It also causes, as was mentioned, gut inflammation, the leaky gut. And leaky gut or gut inflammation will cause you to become fatigued, anxious, and apathetic. In other words, what is happening around you does not matter. It has no effect on you. You do not feel it. You're just looking on something without realizing or feeling for an individual who might be hurt. All of this from gut imbalance. Then there's the cognitive decline. And as was said, poor and foggy memory, destruction of neurotransmitters and pathways declining into the dementia diseases, depression, sleep apnea. All of these are caused by an unbalanced gut environment. Also, insulin resistance, type 2, that is type 2 diabetes. You have irregular and incomplete bowel movements. You might have a bowel movement, but it's never complete. It'll come out and you feel good about it, but there's still a whole lot still in there, re-entering your bloodstream and poisoning your body. Now, it also causes poor reproductive health, especially in women. And definitely men are affected by it also. A lot of the problems that men incur that is blamed on age has a lot to do with gut health. We have other metabolic syndromes like obesity, low HDL, that is the good cholesterol that the body needs, the type of cholesterol that you would get from plants, not animals. You would also, bad gut imbalance would also cause high blood pressure, would influence high blood pressure, high blood sugar, and kidney disease. And this is something that we really, 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 really need to pay attention to. Pharmaceuticals, antibiotics, they destroy gut microbiota, reducing natural immune defense. So when you're taking antibiotics for a disease, what you're doing is you're destroying the balance of your gut bacteria, and you're making yourself more susceptible to diseases. Yes, you might be shutting down one, but it's like using what is it, a high-powered rifle to kill a cockroach and damaging everything in the area. Non-discriminate. It does not, the antibiotics not only go for the bad bacteria, but they wipe out all the good at the same time. In some cases, I must say this, that in some cases, antibiotic is needed, but as soon as the regimen of antibiotics is completed, you need to get digestive enzymes and pre and probiotics into your body as quickly as possible so that you can rebuild your immune system, your immune defense, the natural immune defense. Here's some food for thought. And literally, these are food that help the brain. Establishing and maintaining a healthy gut for overall good health. Yes, recommendations. Life and death begins in the colon, but starts in the mind with the food choices. Yes, everything begins in our mind. Before we put something in our mouth, we have to decide what we're going to put in. So being mindful, we begin the process of creating a healthy gut. Our mindful choices of food determines the contents and balance of the gut microbiome. Here are both foods and lifestyle practices that will establish and maintain a healthy gut and lead to overall good health. And all of these we went through in our first session in the zone. The very things that are recommended are the things that we need to do to establish good gut health. And everything falls into place. We want to start with mindfulness because everything takes thought. Everything should be thought about before proceeding. A mental state achieved through directed focus on one's awareness. And what we've done tonight is made you aware of the importance of the gut. So now that we have the awareness of the importance of a healthy, balanced gut, we look at it, and we calmly acknowledge that, one, we need to think about what we're going to eat before we put it in our mouths. Think about the benefits that our body needs. Think about any deficiency we might know of. Think about the benefits that we would gain from eating in such a way. Mindfulness, even in this. Okay. And when we get to our Zoom presentation on mindfulness, then we will do the general mindfulness. But we're talking about here being mindful about what you're putting in your body. Always being aware. You do not just want to satisfy hunger, because we have satisfied hunger in the past just by making cardboard taste good. Yes. Much of what we eat is nothing more than cardboard with good seasoning. There are no nutrients in cardboard. You will not get vitamins out of cardboard. You will not get minerals out of cardboard. But seasoned properly, it could taste good. Okay, so everybody can laugh about that. But it's the truth. It is the truth. Okay, it is the truth. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that what we're putting in our mouth, am I getting some vitamin A out of this? What about some iron, some magnesium, some calcium? Am I getting this? This is what my body needs. This is what will help me my cognitive functions, my brain functions better. This will take the load off my heart and make it easier, give me good, strong heart. This is what we think about when we're putting food in our mouth. And all of this definitely aligns with the word of Elohim. And Elohim is the Hebrew word for God. It is his word. He has given us in his word a way of eating that if we adhere to it, we will maintain good health. But we have to know it and be aware of it and be mindful of it and practice it. Okay? Other ways of establishing good gut health is daily exercise, which is on the regimen. No matter how small the exercise is, no matter how small you start, even with 5 minutes, if that's all you can do. You start at 5 minutes, but you don't stay there. 5 minutes to 10 minutes, 10 minutes to 20 minutes, 20 minutes to 30 minutes. And soon, you think you are Usain Bolt, ready to run that 100 and get that Olympic record. Okay? Now, cardiovascular exercises, 15 to 25 minutes daily, increases oxygen to all parts of the body, including the gut, feeding the good bacteria, because the good bacteria likes oxygen. That's why alkaline environment is so good. But the bad bacteria loves an acidic environment. So the more acid and bad things that we eat, we increase them because you are feeding them. And what happens when you feed them? They multiply. And if the good bacteria is not being fed, then they diminish. Then we have that imbalance. Also, sufficient and quality rest. Deep, restful sleep is important to stress management as well as gut health, because anxiety starts also in the gut. You know, have you ever gotten anxious and you felt your butterflies or the anxiety in your gut? Yeah. That's because there's a lot going on in your gut that is getting credit for. But praise Yah, scientists and researchers are finding out the importance of it and how it does really affect our mind. Here is specifically mindfulness in nutrition, which is needed to get started. Mindful eating is to choose foods known to possess active nutrients to assist life functions and balance. Live foods, that is raw fruits and vegetables, contribute to a good pH balance as well as nutrient requirements, and also food for the microbiome, who are helping us out with some omega-3, you know, some vitamin B12. And then two, these food items create the acid-alkaline balance that is needed, giving more alkaline so that those good microbiome can flourish. And actually, with the presence of the oxygen, eliminating the bad bacteria. Do you know that cancer cells cannot thrive in an alkaline environment? And the more alkaline the environment of the gut is, the more your body is able to defeat those bad cancer cells? Yes, that's what we're talking about. Being mindful into nutrition. Now, foods and supplements that can build and maintain a healthy gut. Leafy greens, that's on your food list. It provides insoluble fiber that supports the growth of good bacteria. That's right. Good bacteria eat off the fiber in the fibrous foods. Where there's no fiber in the food, then starving the good bacteria. Whole grains, digested primarily in the colon by the gut bacteria, increasing the good flora. They're being fed, so they're multiplying. Warning, glutinous grains, however, like wheat, and all grains that are stripped and bleached, they cause inflammation. And inflammation is also an acidic environment. Anytime you have an itis, that's inflammation. Anytime you have the inflammation, you know that acid is present, and you know your body needs to be predominantly alkaline. And what that will do is reduce the good gut flora, the ones that you need for good health. We should also be mindful to eat prebiotic foods. The prebiotic foods helps by providing what is needed to extend the life of the probiotics. In other words, the prebiotics is the food for the probiotics so that they can do the work in the gut. The probiotics are the good bacteria. And the prebiotics that feed them, nuts, fennel bulbs, bananas, onions, leeks, etc. Then also, remember we talked about the short chain fatty acid, the omega-3, being created in the gut. Well, we can always supplement the body's requirement by eating oily fish. This helps. Omega-3 helps both the brain and the heart. So we definitely need it in the correct balance. We need two types of fat, omega-3 and omega-6. Okay, omega-6 is the medium chain fatty acids, and they're in the body in a specific ratio. So the body needs it in a specific ratio for optimum functioning. Now, the omega-3 is anti-inflammatory. That means it eliminates inflammation. It restores the intestinal lining while creating diversity in the gut biome, in the gut in ecosystem and environment. How do we build the gut? Very important. And we talked about prebiotics. Now, let's look at some probiotic foods. The probiotic foods support naturally occurring good bacteria in the gut. Some are fermented foods, such as sauerkraut, yogurt with live cultures, kefir, kombucha mushroom. These are all probiotic foods that help produce and increase the good bacteria. So if you're going to eat yogurt, make sure that you have yogurt with probiotics. You are adding to good gut health. Now, those of you who have your supplements, in your supplements that you will begin taking right after we've finished. Well, when I say right after we finish, but you want to start a regimen, maybe a morning regimen, and taking them. You have digestive enzymes with pre and probiotics, and it has a minimum of 10 different strain blend for diversity. 1 billion CFUs that include these bacteria here: Bacillus subtilis, Bifidobacterium longum, Lactobacillus acidophilus, and that's a common one that people know of and will see on labels, especially on yogurt labels. Then you have the Bifidobacterium bifidum, and there's a whole list of these various microbiomes that are in your probiotics that you have. So let's start getting them inside of us. And what I would like to encourage is, if there is a situation with dementia I would recommend start giving or start taking the pre and probiotics for that sake, and also everything you do, focus on the gut. Make sure the gut is clear, is clean, that there are no residual toxins in the body, and then feed it with pre and probiotics. And again, we have some natural foods that can be taken in, and these are the foods that we should be eating. But until we get that balance in, we definitely could supplement, and that's what those supplements are for. The digestive enzymes that, along with those supplements, help to break down the food. So the digestive enzymes in your body, you don't have to use so much. So you maintain your youthfulness and your energy because you are getting outside help from supplementing digestive enzymes, and you're also eating food that has food enzymes. So your body's enzymes you get to maintain for good use. And again, these enzymes that you see here are all derived from food. For instance, the bromelain. The bromelain comes from pineapples. So anytime you eat a raw pineapple, you definitely will be getting the enzyme bromelain, which is very beneficial for the gut. And papain, you would get that from papaya. And when you're eating raw foods, you're definitely getting the papain. Now you see, these are the extracts that are placed in those supplements, but you can get them directly from your food. Now, if you're not eating them on a regular basis, supplementation is the next best thing. So that's what we're doing. We are supplementing until we get into the groove, until we know what foods gives us what, and that is what we're focusing on. I want to tell you that this is very important for you to know. In the case of any type of disaster, if you want to maintain good health when all of the medical establishments or people that you run to normally for help, when they're unavailable and you have to take care of yourself, knowing this information corrects medical situations, okay? Because you can get a lot from your foods and knowing what to take in. A summary of everything that's been said this evening. Gut health is extremely important to overall health and well-being. Many of today's chronic diseases are a result of unhealthy gut. Research has established a direct relation to cognitive disorders, emotional disorders, intestinal disorders, as well as heart and kidney disorders. Gut health involves establishing and maintaining a balanced gut microbiome. That's environment. The process begins in the mouth with mindful ingestion with proper and thorough masticating or chewing. Digestive enzymes combine with food enzymes to begin digestion that continues to the esophagus, then into the stomach. The food is then further digested by the stomach secretions and enzymes and passed over time to the small intestine. Here, further digestion with the aid of good microbiome takes place, leading to extraction and absorption of nutrients and microbiome byproducts needed for healthy body function. Final absorption takes place in the colon before elimination from the rectum through the anus. And that's a summary of what we just went through. I conclude with this. The road to good health is then the road to good gut health is then the path to overall good health. Mindfulness, adequate exercise, quality and sufficient rest, and mindful eating. Consuming a high level of plant-based foods, raw fruits and vegetables are crucial to good gut health and overall well-being, good health. And here are foods for a healthy gut. A healthy gut gives you a happy life. So I do hope and pray that all of us have a happy life with healthy guts. And at this time, we're going to just look for questions or comments concerning this. Any questions or comments? I'll stop sharing here. Any questions or comments? And I will stop recording here. This recording should be available by tomorrow.